So first of all, thank you so much for coming. We got Bike Month coming up around the corner. It's going to be Bike Everywhere Month coming up this May, and this session is to educate how to have your bike teams and how to have bike captains for your bike teams. So to get started, welcome. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be covering a few things. Oh yeah, and if we can get that sign-up sheet, if you haven't signed in already, that'll help us get a count for today. So I'm with Commute Seattle. We'll get into who is Commute Seattle, what we do. We got Charlie here from Cascade Bicycle Club, and we got Jason here from Washington Bikes talking about Bike Everywhere Month and the Bike Everywhere Challenge. And then we have some guest speakers we have Heidi from Tableau, who is an ETC, an Employee Transportation Coordinator for Tableau, and Sarah, who is a current and former bike captain for Seattle Children's. And then we'll have some Q&A. So we'll just go around the room. We'll try to make this, we got a lot of people here, so we'll try to make this extra quick, like lightning round. So basically, who you are, where you work, what's your primary job, and on a scale of 1 to 5, what's your comfort or familiarity with bikes and biking? Part of the reason for that activity is just kind of seeing, like, it takes all kinds. So whether you're a 1 or you're a 5, this is the place for you. You're in the right place. So to kick off, I'm going to introduce who is Commute Seattle. So we are a transportation management association. We are a public-private partnership with the Downtown Seattle Association, the Seattle Department of Transportation, King County Metro, and Sound Transit. So as a public-private partnership, we're able to exist as an entity that we're not quite the public sector, we're not quite the private sector, so we kind of act as a buffer between agencies. Our tagline is Commute Seattle fosters mobility partnerships and services to keep Seattle moving and thriving for all. So typically in the past, historically, we've worked with large employers in Seattle. We work on commute trip reduction, which is a Washington state law that was integrated in the early 90s. If you're a company of a certain size, you have to have some sort of plan to mitigate how many people are driving into your offices because there's a lot of traffic concerns. More recently, we've opened up our doors to smaller businesses. So we have a team that's working in South Lake Union, Rainier Valley, SoDo, International District. We also have an in-house ORCA specialist for bulk ORCA sales, and we just recently hired someone for pre-tax. So integrating a pre-tax benefit as part of your benefits package that isn't quite a subsidy, but works with what's already existing. So what we're doing is at Commute Seattle, we work to reduce the number of people driving into the city as part of the morning commute. So in the last 7 years, we've had 60,000 jobs in the downtown core from Pioneer Square to South Lake Union. So while we've had this enormous growth, the number of people driving, the percentage of people driving into downtown has reduced. So Seattle's growing, and our drive-alone rates have been falling. This is a success story. And as part of our surveys, we found that 25% of people are 25% of people are driving by themselves into the city. This number has been falling. When you look nationally, transit use is not going up. Seattle is an anomaly. And so we've been able to have our growth because of this, because of the other options that have expanded, like transit, like biking, like walking. And so we see all these other modes, they've gone up. Job creation and jobs have gone up, and the number of people driving alone into the city creating congestion has gone down. Now I'm going to turn it over to Charlie at Cascade.
Thanks, Kobe. Hey, everyone. Again, I'm Charlie with Cascade. Nice to see some familiar faces in here and even more names that I recognize from email addresses. So Cascade Bicycle Club, we're the largest statewide bicycling advocacy nonprofit in the United States. Our mission is improving lives through bicycling, and our vision is bicycling for all. So a little bit about the scope of work we do. We're best known for our events that we put on, and those go from bucket list rides like the Seattle to Portland, which happens over the summer, to more accessible rides like the Emerald City ride, which is happening this next weekend, all the way over to presentation series, or Women on Wheels, our women-centric expo that's happening in April as well. We also do education. We work with around 25,000 students through our Safe Routes to School program, our Let's Go educational program, Major Taylor project. And then we also do a lot of adult classes. So in our space up in Magnuson Park, we put on things like maintenance, anything from how to ride a bike, the basics of it, all the way up to if you want to learn how to build a wheel, all that fun stuff. We put all that on in our office. We also do political advocacy, advocating for safer streets throughout Washington, including trying to get a basic bike network developed here in downtown. And then we're also a community resource, and there's a picture of our office there on Lake Magnuson. We've got a big fix-it garage in our back, a bunch of cycling resources, and a room full of people who love bicycling. So if you ever want to stop by our office, we've always got some coffee brewed. Here's a quick little slide of just kind of the scope of everything that we do throughout the year. I would highlight our free group rides program as well. It's a great way for anybody to come out. All you need is a helmet and a bike. So transitioning a little bit into Bike Everywhere Month, which is the month of May. Nationally, it's often referred to as Bike to Work Month. A couple years ago, we have been trying to shift that mantra and calling it Bike Everywhere, that maybe you're going to work, but maybe you're going to the grocery store, maybe you're taking your kids to school. It's all about just riding more than you normally would. And the tagline we've been kind of throwing around is that no one celebrates Bike Everywhere Month like Washington. And people celebrate this throughout the nation, but there's really something special here in Washington, the fact that we're all here this morning, that people are excited about it, and it's really an event by the community for the community. So within Bike Everywhere Month, there's a bunch of moving pieces. We're going to cover some of those today. We've got F5 Bike Everywhere Day, which is on May 18th. It's kind of a culmination of all the celebrations that happen throughout the month. If you're riding your bike around that day, you'll often see there's a bunch of celebration stations in the morning and the afternoon for people to interact with, and it's really just about celebrating the fact that we're all riding our bikes, summer's around the corner, having a lot of fun. Our education team also puts on Bike to School Month and Day, which is like we're going to talk about here, but just on a little bit smaller scale, tailored towards students. So if any of you have children, I'd encourage you to look into it. And then we've also got the Bike Everywhere Challenge, which is actually run by our affiliate organization, Washington Bikes. But Jason's going to dive into it a little bit more. That's where you sign up online, log your trips, and compete for prizes. So I'm going to dive in a little bit more about Bike Everywhere Day. Like I said, it's kind of the culmination of all the celebrations and the fun in Bike Everywhere Month. So what Cascade does is we help coordinate over 100 different celebration stations throughout Washington. There's a couple more that were outside of this map. We had a bunch in Wenatchee, a couple up in Bellingham, and then down in Vancouver, Washington. So we're growing every year, getting people to host these celebrations, and that's really kind of whatever would get a bicyclist out and have them have some fun on that day. Sometimes people will set up free breakfast in the morning, maybe a happy hour in the evening. We just want to make sure that people, when they get out and ride, know they've got some options. So here's a photo of Cascade's flagship station by the Fremont Bridge, and then one of the thousands of community bike rides that happen on that day. And so, Bike Everywhere Day, if you want to get involved, you can host a celebration station. Cascade will help promote your station, make sure people know about it and get to it. We've also got some resources to get you started with actually hosting the station itself, and we really just want to get more people involved, and the more fun, the better. You can also help spread the word, letting people know it's Bike Everywhere Day. Get out and ride your bike. We've got a whole bunch of graphics that are available on our website at cascade.org. You can download, and if that helps you to promote. And then also get out and ride. And lucky enough, we have Vicki, who's actually the recipient, I think, of that high five. All right, I'm going to hand it off to Jason.
Cool, thanks. So the Bike Everywhere Challenge, some of you may be familiar with it, some of you may not be. It's run through Washington Bikes and Love to Ride, which is the platform that we're using. It is basically, it's a mileage challenge that you can incorporate your organization. You can incorporate teams within your organization. You can sign up as a solo. It's really flexible. You can associate your team as part of a larger organization. So if your company has different departments, you can go organization, departments, teams, individuals. You can kind of see here, so when you have people sign up, they can sign up on their own. So you have individuals, and then they can affiliate themselves with a team. The individuals are the ones that start the teams, and then the teams associate themselves with the organizations.
Can you clarify the association versus organization?
So the association is you're associating a team. The association isn't actually like a thing. It's you're associating your team with an organization. So if you're saying so.
So like if you had University of Washington, you can associate, there's going to be lots of factions in the University of Washington of like medical school. You had like University of Washington Medical School, University of Washington Architecture Program. You can associate those to University of Washington.
Okay, but to have that organization, though, you have to pay for it, correct?
No, this will come up in a little bit about the paying for the data roll-up, but I will address that as well. But you can see here, so the association tag is just basically, it's a trickle down for the data. So in the end, when you want to search and as an organization, or if you just want to see who's doing what within, so if you have one team in the legal department at Amazon and one team at AWS, you can look at each other and what they're doing because you're both associated with Amazon. And that just sort of gives you permission to be able to look into. So other places can't look at your associations. It's just within your organization. It does kind of sift itself through this, but this is just kind of another way to look at a flow chart here. So this is the organization options. So at the moment, just the basic use of the site is free. If you, you'll see here, there's a price list here. This will give you an idea of what you actually get along with just different kinds of options. This is a reduced amount just for the 2 months that the Bike Everywhere is happening. So it basically gives you access to the site to sign everybody up, then the Bike month, and then sort of the follow-up with the data. And there's more information about this actually on the website as well. And also, I will be staying a little bit after, so if you have any other questions like that, I can address any other questions you have afterwards. So this is what the homepage looks like. Since the actual registration and everything is just starting, some of these tags won't be there maybe today, but for the most part, all of this stuff will be the same. So you basically, you get to the homepage, it's pretty user-friendly. You can just go in, sign up with your first name. It'll take you through a few different processes just to get some basic information. And then you will come to this page here. So this is for as individuals. If you want to start your own team, if you have other people that you're interested in, you've already got together, go ahead and you can go straight to start your own team. Or if you know that your company already has a team, if someone sent you an invite, that's when you go to join an existing team. And there are drop-down menus. Once one person registers on the site, other people can see the teams and the organizations that are available, so they can sift through and find them with you. Now, there's also, if you just want to ride solo, you can always join different teams or organizations later. So this is the Start Your Own Team page. It's pretty self-explanatory. Name, description, blah, blah, blah. When you get down to here, you get like organization association. That's when if there are pre-existing organizations, and a lot of them, if you've done them in the past, they'll be there again. You click on that, you can associate with that, and then there's the region as well. Now, this is if you have yeah, it's okay.
Question. Are we able to reactivate a team from previous years or previous types of challenges?
Yes. If it hasn't been, Love to Ride's pretty good about keeping that information in their system. Yeah. So they don't really do a purge at the end of each year, so it should still be in there. Okay. Unless it's usually that if someone goes back and says we are literally no longer interested in doing it.
So would that be joining a team or creating?
If the teams will be gone, okay, but organizations will be there. So it just takes one person to start a team. Now, I will say, just remember, the teams are limited to 10 people per team, but there's no limit on number of teams per organization or department. So you can have as many teams as you want. You can have less than 10. You can have up to 10. This is, if you join an existing team, this is a scroll down menu. If someone has already registered a team, it will be in the system. You just have to find it, and it's by alphabetical order. All right, so this is a team page here. This kind of gives you a rundown of who's here, the points. The points are based on the mileage. You can set it as if you want to see who's leading as far as the distances or by the day. There's all sorts of different great ways that you can see who's doing what, who's leading, get that competition flowing. And then you can also kind of see a lot of the data here. And then the difference between just the viewing of the data on the website and the actual paid feature is you get the actual data roll-up, which breaks it down in much more detail. So this is just another little stat you can kind of see. Leaderboard. And there is an overall leaderboard as well. So you can see who's leading across the state. So this is the association tag, and that's the organization association. So when you, if you start your team, you go to this and you affiliate it with, say, AAA of Washington. So you're going to be the AAA rollers. You scroll down, you fill out your information, then you come here and you click on AAA Washington. And then basically under the nest of AAA Washington, you can then see all the different teams there. And then after everything, and actually when it's going, this results page won't pop up until the competition starts on May 1st. But when it does, you can find your organization, and you can find the region if that's what you'd like to see. If you have, we'll take AAA again. They have different field offices all over the state, so you can actually see the different regions and how they're competing with each other. And so this is sort of some information about what the organization profile page that would be paid for, what the advantages are. In the end, the biggest feature is the data roll-up. There's significantly more data that comes with the feature. But in the meantime, one of the reasons why we've pushed so hard to keep it a free option is just so everybody gets the opportunity to get on there, get registered, get their teams going, and then once you kind of see the participation levels, that's when you really decide that whether or not if that's something that you want to invest in to bring the data in a larger roll-up.
I got a question here.
Yeah.
So you get all this data you're accumulating. Like the first bullet point is pretty nice, like pounds of CO2 avoided. Are we able to get this continually through the month so we can post it at work that, okay, we have like 10 riders and this is how much we're saving? That's a good question, and we can check on that afterwards. But I will say at the moment, the best way to do that is also, you can see a lot of this on the team pages. And when the captains talk about it, they'll kind of be able to discuss exactly how their experiences in the past have been. The data roll-up in the end is a much larger cumulative for the whole event, but you can see a lot of this based on your team pages and your organization pages, and that does, like, you could even look at that day by day through that, but the actual data roll-up is more of a cumulative for the whole experience. But that is a good question, and that is something I can bring up with Love to Write as well. Okay.
All right. So now thank you.
Sure.
So now I'll introduce Sarah. Sarah is, I had it as former captain, and then she corrected me as current captain. Sarah is the current bike captain for Seattle Children's, and she'll be able to really kind of put a face in the story to what it's like being a captain, motivating people in the organization, and getting everyone excited about Bike Everywhere Month in May. So I'd like to introduce Sarah to come up and share.
Awesome. Thanks.
And you can just click to move the slides.
Thanks. So, I'm Sarah Spear. I work for Seattle Children's Hospital. I am both a current and former bike captain, and like Kobe said, I just want to talk a little bit about what my experience is and how much I love riding and how much I love leading teams for both Bike to Work Month and then Ride in the Rain in the fall. And so I'm hopefully going to get you guys jazzed about doing the actual riding and getting people out there, because that's really where my passion lies. So definitely I feel like if I can do it, then you can do it. So this is me. This isn't me. But I love this photo because it illustrates my passion for alternate commutes and alternate commuting. I cannot ride the bus. I'm kind of happy to hear there aren't any FDOT reps in the room, because I'm about to say that I find the bus soul-sucking. I'm sorry, FDOT, but it's not for me. And bike commuting kind of is like the perfect combination of me loving to ride my bike, but also being inherently lazy, because I got to get to work somehow, and then I have to get home, and so riding my bike really meets all of my needs. I'll tell you a little bit about myself and my experience. Started riding a bike when I was 6. I've been riding a bike pretty much my whole life. Bike rides with my family were a big deal, so I really grew up in a biking family. And then when I moved out here to Seattle, I ended up working really close to where I lived and joined the organization Seattle Children's right before they started their company bike program, which started, I think, like back in 2008 or 2009. I joined the company bike program, which means that they gave me a bike with a rack and lights. They gave me a helmet and a lock. And they really have a big passion for helping to get people on their bikes. So I'm really fortunate to work for that organization and to be able to participate in that. I've been a bike captain for Ride in the Rain and Bike to Work Month, I think, since like 2008 or 2009, something like that. And I've got a great group of people that every year I can get on my bike team and wrangle them in. And then every year I'm able to get just like a few other people to join me with I get my fingers in them and get them to join me on my bike. So my big thing about riding and getting a team together is to focus on what my job is and how I can make that happen. I work for Seattle Children's. I was talking about the company bike program. So I'm really fortunate that the organization is committed to getting people on bikes and keeping people on bikes. They also have the infrastructure and the budget to do that. So I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. What I get to worry about is what I see as my job as a bike captain, and first and foremost, that's removing barriers and advocating for riders. So talking with people about what it's like to ride in the rain, what it's like if you need to shower when you get to work, what's the best bike gear, what's it like riding as a woman, how does all of that feel as a rider, and then having those personal conversations with people and finding out what it is that they see as barriers to keep them off the road, and then talking about my experience, and then maybe even linking them up with our transportation specialists at the hospital to talk about what the best routes are, what it's like riding downtown, maybe linking your bike with your bike ride with a bus, with a shuttle, with another form of transportation. Maybe you can drive to a park and ride, hop on the Burke and ride. And some people, just because they're new to it, they've just never had the experience of thinking about what that might look like for them. So I want to help them think about what are the different things that they can do to remove those barriers and get them on their bikes. And definitely advocating for them. Because a lot of people just don't feel, I think, folks in the room here just don't feel comfortable on a bike, don't feel comfortable riding out there, and a lot of the people on my team are women, and so advocating for them and talking about what my experience is like. What do you do when somebody yells at you? What do you do when you fall? Those kinds of things. So just talking about experiences and meeting with people is really what I enjoy doing. And first and foremost, I talked with one of my longtime team members, and I was like, what do you like about me being a captain? And she said, you really meet people where they are. I definitely am much more comfortable being a cheerleader than being a drill sergeant. I just want to get people on their bikes. I just want to get people involved. So Children's has goals for within Bike to Work Month where a team member, and I think this is Children's and Love to Ride, but you have to ride at least X number of times during the month in order to be considered a part of their like overall big stats. And I don't care about any of that. If you ride once during the month of May, that is awesome, because I just want you on my team. Because if I can get you on your bike once, then I think I can probably get you on your bike again. And May is a great time to get people involved in riding because it's lighter out. The days are longer. It tends not to be as wet. And then once people can build their confidence on their bikes and see what that feels like, figure out what it is like to ride in the rain, but when it's daylight, figure out what lights you need, what's the gear that you need, what's it like if I have to shower, figure out all of that stuff. That then in the fall, if they're riding all through summer and it does get dark and it does start raining, that they can figure out if they can still be on their bikes because they've worked out all the other logistics. So that's one of the reasons that I think that May is such an awesome time to start people riding, is because they can build up that 30 days worth of habit and keep it going through the long and dark months if they feel comfortable doing that. And I totally respect people if they don't feel comfortable doing that. I love riding. I ride year round, but it's not for everybody, and that's okay. So I'm great at being the cheerleader because I just want you on your bike and I want you to be involved. But what do you do if you need to be the drill sergeant? So Suzanne, my good buddy, last fall I wanted to get her on my Ride in the Rain team, and I sent her the email. I followed up with her in person. I was like, Suzanne, you ride. Like, why don't you just join the team? And, oh, yeah, I'll do it. And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get her involved, because all I was doing was just getting her to sign up to do something to get points for something that she already does. So I was talking with one of my other teammates, Richard, who knows Suzanne better than I do, and he said, well, Suzanne's actually really competitive. And I'm not a competitive person, so that's not really where that's not my wheelhouse. So I went back to Suzanne and I said, Suzanne, if you don't join my bike team, we will stay. And her eyes lit up, and she got so excited, and she was like, well, wait a minute, what do you mean? And I said, well, we need points, and we need riders, and we need your miles. And she's like, well, I only ride like 1 mile. And I was like, no, it doesn't matter. We need all the miles we can get. So I had to kind of change how I thought about things, because she just has a different mindset for it. And she immediately joined the team, and every day I would challenge her. Are you going to ride tomorrow? Are you going to ride tomorrow? Are you going to ride tomorrow? And that's not me. I don't like counting people. But with her, that was what she needed, and that was what it took to get her on board. And I did, and she did great, and I'm going to definitely recruit her for a Bike to Work month in May. She just doesn't know it yet. So Kobe asked me to talk a little bit about using Love to Ride, and I know in the past I've heard from other people that this has been a challenge for them, navigating the website and figuring out how to use it. And again, I would say I'm coming from a position where I've worked for this big organization that sends email reminders to team captains, make sure all of your riders are logging their miles, and this is how you do these things, and this is how you sign up with the organization. So I can't speak to that upper level management, but I would say that when you're working with a team and you're working with people, that the website is a tool, and then you have to meet people where they are. Come over, say, hey, did you get that email? I definitely want you to join my team. And then also reminding people to track their progress and reaching out to them weekly. I can never get my teammates to put their miles in. And I have one in particular, Sylvia, who just, she does it all in the last week, and it drives me crazy, and I know she's going to do it, but every week I'm like, Sylvia, just put in your miles. But don't fret. They will. They'll do it. And I know, John, you'd asked the question about the CO2 offset. I feel pretty confident that is something that shows up on the side of everyone's page, and that daily as you put in your miles, it'll tell you what that offset was, because when you ask that question, it kind of rang some bells for me. So I think that's something that's in there.
Got another question?
Yeah, sure.
Is any of this integrated with Strava? Because Strava, you're automatically have your miles updated. And so this would be kind of a nice thing to integrate.
One of those, I don't know if it still does, but it did last time.
I think it still
Yeah.
does.
Last year.
There's a whole bunch of apps you can sync it with so that it'll automatically log.
I'm not worried then about someone
Right.
manually.
Just maybe 30 seconds for people in the room who don't know what Strava is.
Anybody want to explain it?
Yeah, so Strava is an app that people use when they're walking or they're biking that basically it records on the map, like, okay, I started from here, and I ended here, and I went 5.5 miles. So it kind of like aggregates that data, and then if that's linked with Love to Ride, that saves you the trouble of being like, okay, I need to go log this in, because if it's linked together, it'll just do it automatically.
Right.
It turns the smartphone automatically into like a Fitbit.
Yeah.
So if anyone has a smartphone, they can be on Strava. So it's really
Right.
a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of good miles. It's really fun.
Yeah. The one caveat I would say is just double check in Love to Ride that what it's recording was actually the miles that you want it to be recording, because I did have, I had a couple friends, actually it was Suzanne, little competitive Suzanne, who wanted to do this, who found that it would log miles that weren't commute miles, or like she was driving. So just make sure, and I'm sure that like those are just bugs within the app, and maybe those things have been worked out, but I would just say, like, make sure that when you go in and you check your miles, that it actually was logging the miles that you wanted for commutes. But that's only, you only need to worry about that if you only are logging commute miles through Love to Ride, and that depends on your organization. Because my organization just wants commute miles in there, and that's going to be organizational. And then finally, keep it fun. I think that if you are passionate about riding, like you can share that with people, and it's really fun to get people involved. I've had 4 or 5 coworkers who are now bike commuters who never really rode bikes before they started with me, and it is very exciting. I'm kind of a humble person, but it's really exciting to hear people say, like, I find you inspirational, and it's really cool to get to see people on a daily basis. You'll start to recognize riders out there and people that you see every day. So I just really recommend that you get out there, get people out there, and maybe take them on a weekend ride to figure out what their ride might look like. But
We'll bring up Heidi, who's going to speak with her about her experiences as an ETC, Employee Transportation Coordinator.
Hi, I'm Heidi. I'm with Tableau. We're based in Fremont, and we also have offices around the country and a couple offices in other parts of the world. This year, I'll be running our Global Bike to Work Month Challenge, and so that means just a lot of coordinating with other offices around the world. But my main focus is really on our Fremont and Kirkland offices. And I wanted to just touch on kind of the evolution of our bike culture at Tableau and how we use data, and then also talk just a little bit about what we're doing and how we're engaging our employees. So, I've got to is that the right place?
There you go.
These are some of our happy riders. I think we've been in Fremont for about 10 years or so, and part of our bike culture definitely grew out of the fact that we're right on the bike on the Burt Gilman Trail. Over time, the riders, became more and more vocal about the types of facilities they wanted, and so when I arrived a mere 8 months ago, we walked into a brand new building that had the biggest bike room I've ever seen in the United States. It was just amazing, and that was because the riders were vocal and, had all these grand ideas of what they wanted to see in a bike room. So in a lot of ways, I was lucky to just walk into an organization that had a really active bike culture. But it wasn't always rosy as I was, engaging in their chat channels and kind of trying to feel out what the riders were really wanting. I could tell that there was a bit of animosity between, sort of my facilities and workplace team and the riders, and a little bit of us versus them. And so one thing that I've really worked to navigate is, how to engage the riders on a regular basis, make sure to ask them questions about, changes to our locker room policies and really nuts and bolts things that if we don't ask them about, they will have loud and vocal responses to. And so I'm really trying to, kind of be one of them and a mediator. I don't ride regularly now, but I've, tried to sprinkle in little tidbits of how, when I rode, to work 2 weeks ago, or when I was out with my family, and kind of bridge the gap between sort of the facilities department and the riders themselves. So one of the reasons that I really like Bike Month is because I feel like it's a really great model for campaigns that you can use to engage your workforce in other types of modes, transit riding and walking and things throughout the year. So we can use Bike Month as sort of a model. We can, really work to engage employees the rest of the year. I think Bike Month is also great because if we can get more people on their bikes, then they'll give up their parking spot so that we can put more people in the parking garages. So for a selfish reason of parking management, I think getting people on their bikes is really helpful. It's also a great healthy, helps people ride to work healthier and happier. Some of the ways that we're getting folks involved this year are, as I mentioned, we've got a really active group of riders, and I kind of knew who some of those folks were, so I invited them and created a steering committee. Really asked them, what can we do to take Bike Month up to the next level this year? And so one of the things they focused on was just really engaging new riders. They really just want more people to get on their bikes, which if you engage in some of their hip chat rooms and things, some of the banter that's going back and forth about the really nerdy gear questions and apps and stuff are not necessarily the most inviting type of venue to attract new riders. So I was really excited to hear that this was their main motivation for Bike Month. And so we brainstormed a lot of, ideas of how to get new riders involved and came up with a whole calendar of events to engage folks. And so some of the things that we're doing are, we're doing a kickoff day on April 18th. So it's Spring into Gear Bike Month kickoff. And on that day, we have Bike Commuting 101 classes in the 3 different local offices. And those will be led by the bike ambassadors themselves. So I'm not teaching any of those classes. They are going to come in and tell people whatever. I've got some general agendas and guidelines for them, but they're going to really lead those classes. Right after that, they're doing bike maintenance 101s in the bike rooms, and so some of those same ambassadors and some other folks that have volunteered will go into the bike room and then help new riders just do a basic safety check on their bike, learn how to change a tire if they want, give them a recommendation and a coupon to go get a official tune-up in a nearby bike shop. We're also doing bike donations to Bike Works on that day, so people who have amassed large amounts of bikes in their garage and want to kind of do a spring clean-out can bring their bikes and donate those, and that's happening both in Seattle and Kirkland as well. And then Brian at Rad Power is bringing some e-bikes to Fremont, and people are going to just be able to demo those bikes between our 2 offices about 8 blocks apart on a bike lane. So that'll be fun kind of visibility, and I think we're also going to be incorporating some sort of how, the ins and outs of riding on an electronic bike into our Bike 101 with the help of Rad Power Bikes as well. So some of those real hardcore bikers are also real hardcore against e-bikes, so it'll be good. But I think, electric bikes are a really great way to get people started, especially in this hilly climate or hilly topography, and so I think that'll be really helpful to kind of bridge the gap to new riders. So we're also purchasing the organizational portal, so I'm interested to see how that goes. Because we're a data company, we want the extra data. We want to be able to use that to show cool vizzes about what people are doing and how people are getting involved. I also don't want to do a bunch of duplicative work on trying to figure out how much people are participating, because we're giving participation awards and kind of challenging people to take it to the next level. If they ride more than twice a week, they'll get a patch kit that has a tire lever and tires and patch kits and things and a little bike bag. So we're going to be reaching out to people and kind of encouraging them to take it to the next level as well. I think I forgot to show just some of the ways that data is helpful. I kind of skipped over that part, but we use data. We're a data company, data visualization company, so we use data all the time, and one of the ways that using data is really helpful for us is that using the CTR survey results, we know how the percentage of people that ride bikes. So that really has helped us to elevate the riders' concerns within the organization, because we can actually point to data that shows that we have 15% of our employees riding to work. And so that brings legitimacy to their concerns and gives them a bigger seat at the table when it comes to facilities decisions and things as well. The last thing I wanted to say is just kind of how we're engaging people in communication. We're using the Love to Ride portal. We also has some internal web pages that we use to reach out to folks. I'm just like slapping calendar invites on people's calendars for all of the bike events that we're doing, and they can approve or deny. We also just started using Slack, so we created a Bike Month Slack channel, and it has more participants in it already than any of my other Slack channels, which is great, I guess. So people are really excited and engaged and ready to roll. So we're just, getting the word out there in lots of different ways.
Okay, so before we open it up, thank you, Heidi. Before we open it up to Q&A, I just wanted to, again, thank Heidi and Sarah for coming and making the trip. Also, if you haven't signed in using the sign-up sheet, we'll get that to you, or we can send the sign-up sheet around.
Does anybody have the sign-up sheet?
Cool. And just to reiterate some of the things that have been said, I really like what Heidi was saying about encouraging new riders, especially as you've probably seen the floating bike shares, OFO, Lime Bike, and Spin all around. Like Charlie was saying, all you need is a helmet and a bike, and now bikes are everywhere. So it's really the perfect time to ride. And also, when talking about resources, obviously Children's and Tableau, they have different kinds of resources when it comes to putting it towards bikes. But we here at Commute Seattle, through our website, we have all sorts of best practices. We're going to be running some Bike 101s coming up April and May, so please keep on the lookout for that if you want to learn how to, or direct your employees about biking and how to integrate biking as part of their commute during Bike Month. Now, I'll open the floor if you guys have any questions for Sarah and Heidi.
How does it compare to Cascade urban cycling class? Which I took when I first started, which was fantastic. And that, whenever I get a lot of the pushback I get from people not wanting to bike, I don't feel safe. I don't really know how to bike in the city. I say, well, there's these classes at Cascade, it's $45 or whatever it is, and it's amazing, and it just kind of helps you. You're hands-on. You have sample rides down 10-point way, which got me to tackle anything. So how does those classes compare?
Those ones are more, they're more basically kind of this kind of structure. Cascade will definitely have a more thorough, to get you on the bike. It's probably a step up from what we offer, which is more this is a bike, this is an ABC bike check. These are some general rules of the road. These are some infrastructure options that are coming online in the area. Usually we have them kind of throughout the city, so we talk about what's happening in the area around there, and they last for probably 45 minutes or so. And then what we're starting to do is we might be working with some of the bike share companies to come out to those things and kind of this is the ABC bike check that we're talking about, that kind of thing. So it's pretty much really for the real intro stuff, but I do some of the Cascade.
Yeah, it'll be. There'll be a presentation, but we're talking this year about having a ride as part of it as well. So, especially again, getting those new riders instead of preaching to the choir, getting those new riders. The best way to get somebody who's not comfortable riding on a bike is to have that introduction riding together as a group. Yeah.
How can I get, Heidi brought this up about with Rad Power Bikes, correct your name? Brian. And other groups that you've brought people in, how can I get Cascade to come into my office, Brian come in my office, a representative from OFO or Lime to come in? What does it take to...
I would tap Charlie or Vicky on the shoulder for Cascade. I think Brian would be very happy to talk to you. And we have, at Commute Seattle, what we were talking about at the very beginning about how we're public-private, we have those relationships, so we can help broker that relationship for you and put you in contact.
I would say on the Cascade side, so for example, the City of Bellevue pays for Cascade to come and do a similar class to what you guys are talking about during Bike Month, and I think there's opportunities like that.
Well, I'd love to have like a biking 101, biking maintenance. You know, that'd be a perfect way to start. Because I have some people asking me questions, but it'd be nice to have like a group come in.
Right, and is there a way for like several companies that are in like a very similar location to pool together to have those things happen?
Yeah.
The KPFS, by the way.
What's that?
Is someone here with KPFS?
Oh,
Okay, we're nearby here.
And I'd love to chat with you as well.
Yeah.
I mean, put that out there for anybody. I'm here to kind of network and get to know the ETCs around the city, and as many of those kind of opportunities as we can cultivate. It's funny what you said about kind of diehard cyclists looking down their nose at e-bikes. To me, and I'm a lifelong, my whole career has been in the bike industry, and I think if you can kind of change that mindset from looking at e-bikes as cheating to e-bikes as another way to accomplish that goal, one less car, one less single commuter, I think it opens up a pretty broad range of opportunities to speak to people who kind of tune out when you talk to them about riding, traditional pedal bikes because of distance or hills or a lot of the other hurdles that people perceive when you talk about commuting by bike. So let's talk afterwards. I'll make sure you get the card and I'll put that information out to anybody in the room.
And just so that we have definitions clear, e-bikes it's like a regular bicycle, but it has like a small electric power battery motor to it. So there's some of these Lime bikes that have a little battery pack on it, so when you're pedaling, it feels like you have like a strong wind at your back. There's other kinds of e-bikes as well that have a throttle, kind of like a motorcycle, where you turn it, zip.
Well, Sarah had a perfect analogy. She called e-bikes as a gateway bike.
Yeah.
So.
It's a great way to get people involved who maybe just aren't as comfortable. Yeah, get them started.
Yeah, exactly. Flat hills to make that commute shorter. People are intimidated about sharing the road with cars, and if you know that the bike's going to help you get up a lot closer to the speed of traffic moving, it sort of lowers that intimidation level as well. So, I think that's a perfect analogy.
I wanted to share that one of the things that we do during Bike to Work Month is we have 4 or 5 teams now. We have a sign-up that says, it shows the names of the teams and who's on them, and we have a Bike to Work breakfast. So each team hosts every week, and so it's a potluck. People can bring what they want, but we have it at the top of the stairs near the deli, and one of the managers buys the coffee. So we encourage people to come by. You don't have to bike to come talk to people. Have all the giveaways to kind of raise awareness about biking. And then we also have a map, the biking map, and we have little flags. So they say, I couldn't possibly bike. I live in wherever. Oh, well, so does so-and-so, and you should talk to Susie, or you should talk to Bob. And that way to connect. And it is nice, too, that it helps people have something in common where they may never talk to a person in that department. And it doesn't matter that this person is an executive and this person is an admin or, HR versus maintenance, that we're all talking about biking and being safe or live in the same neighborhood. So that's another way to kind of encourage people to join.
What other questions do people have about maybe love to ride or being a bike captain? Or if you have a bike program at your workplace and you want to take it to the next level, or you don't have a bike program at your workplace.
Maybe just one all those quick things that the networking thing and empowering employees and anybody to be more comfortable. Like I spend a lot of time actually doing support my district report, and that's one thing, one little chunk of advocacy that I focus on. That is, if you can fix the potholes or you can ask to fix the lighting, or there are things you can do. It takes effort, but it's when you talk to your colleagues who you never otherwise would talk to, whether people nearby, you might live nearby, work nearby, I find it to be really powerful in a way, because you actually can at least take care of some potholes, if not other frustrations that threaten your safety.
So I have a question about so we've got the Bike to Work month, or Bike Everywhere month. I was talking to, last year we did the National Bike Challenge, which is a nationwide event. There's also one in the fall, I guess, and there's like a company challenge, like, sort of organizations against organizations. Is there anything in Washington State that's going to tie into that, or is that kind of on your own?
As far as the Love to Ride site and about how they tie into that is separate from what we do. We also do, Sarah actually brought up Ride in the Rain, which is another month long. It's kind of like the Bike Everywhere Month Challenge, but obviously it's in November. It's a little bit harder to motivate people to get out there, but it is an opportunity where that's another data month that we do in November. We haven't actually opted into the Bike Everywhere or the Love to Ride National Challenge. They do have the opportunity on their site to tap into that with the data, but that's separate from our challenge, from the Bike Everywhere Month in Washington State, at least at this point right now.
And then my other question is, perhaps like our company has offices in other cities and stuff like that. Are we getting limited by just joining the Washington State Bikes, Ride Everywhere? Are we able to see or have an organization or have an association with other offices within that?
Yeah, so we, the way that the challenge is set up is it's meant to be really easy. If you live within Washington State, it just automatically puts you into that category so that you're competing against other people in Washington. There are some ways if people are outside of the state to join that same challenge, to be on the same leaderboards. When you're signing up, you're asked to put the street of where your workplace is. We found a workaround that a lot of people have used is just putting a Washington address in your workplace, and then that'll automatically bump you in. So if you have offices in different states, everybody can be on teams together or see how those teams are doing versus each other.
All right, so since we're going right up against time, I think I'm going to call this. Just a really quick plug on Bike Everywhere Day. Commute Seattle is doing what we've called our Bikes and Bagels. We're going to have 3 stations across the city: Occidental Park, South Lake Union, and Rainier Valley. All right.
I also had a